Well, good morning, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this webinar today. We are really excited to have you join us to be able to kind of walk through the social media landscape across China. And so I'm Jeremy from Udentity. I'm one of the co-founders that deals with university partnerships. I have with me on the call today Trevor, who is my colleague based in Singapore. I'm based in Shanghai. And what we're going to do is kind of give you an overall introduction about Udentity and also walk you through the different social media tools that will help with your international outreach. So I'm going to be sharing my screen first of all. Okay, so thank you for joining us. In a nutshell, Udentity was founded in 2018. What we do is we focus using live stream online events for universities to be able to connect and broadcast to students, parents, and high school counselors. We started out mostly in China, but we've spread out our network of users to across Asia with 392 universities across 25 countries using our platform and 294 high schools across 12 countries in Asia using our platform. And so we really did emphasize using these online events and virtual fairs as an experience, but we see the need to expand to do other digital solutions because at Udentity, we believe it's important to cover all facets of building a digital presence and making it more sustained so that your audience can get to know you and also be able to interact with you in more ways than one, especially during these really strange times with the pandemic. And so what we thought would be a good solution today was to as a university, to walk you through China's ever-growing social media landscape. And at Udentity, we are always on the lookout for the most impactful online channels that will help you to connect to those students or counselors or parents and be able to generate leads for the current situation and also in the future, even when the world opens up. So just a bit of housekeeping. We'll have a Q&A at the end, and I believe many of you have sent in questions beforehand, so we'll try and cover as best as possible. But regardless, the session will be recorded for you to rewatch, as well as a free user guide that will just kind of give you a summary of each of the tools, not only the ones we present today, but also other tools that you might want to consider when starting to build your social media strategy. So you know better than us the challenges that have faced international recruitment and admissions officers during COVID. Limited travel does mean that online outreach becomes the only means to be able to engage with your audience. And so even though online is considered less personal in many ways, and there is an opportunity to open up the chances for you to be able to connect with your audiences, whether it's through general info sessions, virtual fairs, or open days, that kind of thing. We believe that universities can use online tools and social media to promote your institutions in more ways that may have happened before the pandemic. And with this uncertainty and anxiety, we see it is more important now than ever to communicate and update to audiences across the globe about what is going on your campus and how you are dealing not just with the pandemic, but helping students to get through this whole situation. And so the challenge being said in, say, the Chinese context is email is not a popular means of communication because oftentimes you'll see these long QQ, many different numbers for their email. A lot of times these students or parents don't utilize it. So if you want to be able to connect with their audience, you have to find proactive means to be able to showcase or engage with them. And that is a great chance for you to kind of break from that fear factor or these unreliable news sources that may be coming out in different ways to kind of answer those questions. So that being said, before we kind of go into the specific tools, we want to talk about how social media usage has evolved during COVID. And as you can see here, this graph shows in the China-specific case, during COVID, the average time spent on social networking and video content really hit new heights and skyrocketed. And what we mean by video content is we can break down between short and long video, where short videos are like your TikToks, Douyin, where it's much more bite-sized, more fun and viral, whereas long videos are maybe things that you might see on YouTube, for instance, which can be a bit more informational and more longer form. And so that being said, this jump is really down to the use of like the growing use of internet and 5G technology, as well as the reasonably priced mobile phone market over here that has increased usage of social media. And so the reason why we're focusing on social media is we believe it could be an effective outreach tool that's reasonably priced and could help build long-term branding or presence for you during and after COVID. So we're going to talk about the trends in social media by looking at the top timeline, the top content sharing platforms in China. And if you can see here, this is kind of an evolution of what we see as web-based and mobile-based applications and technology, where we're looking at well-known search engines like Baidu and Douban, which gives the audience the chance to kind of find what they want, somewhat like the equivalent of Google, but if some of you have used Baidu before, it's significantly worse and very ad-based, right? Where I believe if you search Harvard, for instance, on Baidu, you're going to get more ads for agents first before you actually get the university's websites. So this is kind of what started out internet and social media usage at first, but then evolved to more forum-based platforms like Douban and Zhihu, which is kind of like Quora. And then with the growing use of mobile phones and mobile apps, that's where Weibo, WeChat, Toutiao, and Bilibili really grew into usage, where now we are going from more text-based articles and content to video with Kuaishou, Bilibili, TikTok, Douyin, and even voice, which uses tools that were similar to what Clubhouse was trying to do in China, for instance. And so when we talk about this, initially Chinese social media emulated what we saw in the US and localized it towards the market over here. However, these tools have really evolved into ecosystems that go beyond that, which we'll walk you through just after this. So when a lot of questions came in was focused on what are the tools that are useful or related to engaging with Gen Z in China? And that is a key question, because what's really important is Gen Z in China really grew up with using mobile phones and these apps that we'll be sharing today. And if you can see the sweet spot over here in the middle, these are the tools that they use on a daily basis, which post those born in 2000s, they really rely on using Weibo, WeChat, and Bilibili to either learn about what's going on around the world for news, or to be able to kind of share content and learn about what is, new and interesting topics, or what's popular and what's trendy. And with the rise of 5G, mobile applications like this and the ones beyond, which will be emphasizing on VR, AR, live streaming, and gaming, will promote this sharing economy and usage, where even television doesn't become a form of entertainment for Gen Z anymore, but these tools will be kind of where they find all their information and communicate it to their network. One thing that's really interesting about Gen Z in China with technology, and especially these social media tools, is that their behavior towards them is much different than what we see outside of China. And what we mean by that is, compared to the older generation in China, they are more likely to engage with communities online than with the circles around them. So the physical circles, whether it's their family and their friends around them, they will actually be more inclined to engage with someone online that shares a similar interest, whether it's on a topic or whether it's on an issue. They will likely connect with them more and be actually far more active in that community than they would elsewhere. And so you can see these graphs demonstrate that those born in 1960, 1970, 80s, 90s, and 100, this is the likeliness that they'll engage with the community, and then the activityness afterwards. And so that is why we look at these social media tools as an opportunity to go and be more proactive to reach out to that audience. So if we looked at all those content sharing tools we showed earlier and focused on the ones that you may be more familiar with over here, we've got Zhihu, which is kind of, as mentioned before, like the Quora of China. This you'll have more working professionals use. So if you're trying to engage with graduate level students, this is a perfect opportunity because it's really where they go to ask questions and get responses either by experts or those who have gone through an experience. So we see a lot of these questions in around higher ed, really asking previous alum or those that went and studied abroad to kind of answer their questions on these kind of specific questions or more broad questions, which is very much text-based Q&A. And this other tool, which we'll share with you later on, it's called Bilibili, which is equivalent to being the YouTube of China, where, funny enough, it is the most influential tool for Gen Z. So if you're looking at undergraduate students, this is what they really grow up with and use on the daily basis the most out of all the platforms that you see here. And unlike other tools, it's really based on a powerful search engine and algorithm. Weibo, I believe a few universities that signed up for this session and the one we hosted previously is really kind of like a great microblogging site to build a sort of Chinese presence, whether that's posting updates, sharing content or articles. A lot of young professionals and adults use Weibo as a way to really follow a brand or build influence. So they used a lot of these influencers on this channel to be able to kind of promote different brands and products. It is a good tool, but we'll share some of the emphasis as to why this next tool is really the most influential on a day-to-day basis, which is WeChat. This is cross-generational. Everyone uses it, not just for instant messaging, but to be able to circulate content, read what's going on. And a new tool that they have is video sharing and video features. TikTok, or Douyin as it's called over here in China, is actually a little bit different in that even though it's owned by the same company, ByteDance, the difference is the users that find the content the most interesting is not Gen Z in China, but it's actually young professionals and even a lot of seniors use it. They have slightly different functionality and features between the Chinese version and the non-Chinese version, but it is still down to short videos and viral campaigns. So we'll actually share some of the tools on our report about why each one might be useful for your institutions, but we really want to hone in on the one that makes the most sense to reach out to your target audience. So we sent out a survey ahead of time, and it looks like a lot of the tools that we wanted to just see what you use. It seems like there's a definitely healthy portion using WeChat and some using Weibo. And I guess the emphasis we just wanted to see was the tools you use, not just within China, but just outside in general as well. So when we look at what tools are useful for you to be able to connect to your audience, we need to do the research and deep dive into what is the focus that you're trying to get towards. Is it to promote your university? Is it to showcase what's unique about your institution or the community around it? And when we looked at it carefully, we saw that the need for content on videos or say article subscriptions for updates was the most essential. And that is why, in order to build a presence, if you want to cover different channels and if you want platforms that have multi-dimensional tools, it's important to look at tools like WeChat and Bilibili. So why WeChat? WeChat is really a super app that's all in one. Really started out focusing on instant messaging and doing just general social media updates, kind of like on Facebook walls, as you can see. But it's really evolved to be an ecosystem all in one, whether that's through its mobile payment system or its new video feature. And when it comes to daily usage over here, it is pretty much the day-to-day life where WeChat replaces reliance on email. So as you can see here, 82 minutes per day, and it spreads across different age groups, but as well as the different tiered cities in China, which is why it becomes kind of that essential tool to be able to connect to different audiences. When it comes to creating an account, you can create an individual account to be able to chat and send message. But if you want to actually write articles and post content, you need a verified account, and that could either be a subscription one or a service one. And just to make it very simple, a subscription you can create as an individual or as a company. And what happens is you can push articles where it's one article per day, and the notifications are actually showcased in the section that says subscription. So you can set up these articles, you can write content, you can have followers. The main issue is you cannot push it to those that follow your page and it appear like a friend that you're chatting with individually. So the service account allows you to not only have more posts per day, but it actually shows up as an alert, almost like a new message. So it almost forces that person to want to read or say unread the new post that you've had. And the difference is a service account requires you to either have a business license verified. You could either use a Chinese company license, or you can use a foreign account to do it. The foreign account just requires a higher cost and a longer wait time for it to be verified and approved. But most universities that we've either seen or worked with go with the subscription route just because they're not going to post so frequently, but it's just easier to manage and easier to transfer afterwards. Other tools, Mini Program is like a miniature app that is embedded within the WeChat ecosystem. Maybe not the most useful for universities to set up, but we use a Mini Program just to be able to showcase the virtual fairs or online events that universities host to blast it. Last but not least is actually quite a new feature called videos. And for context, what it is Douyin/TikTok had a fight. Their owner had a fight with Tencent's founder, and he basically said, okay, I'm shutting off the ability to share videos from TikTok on WeChat. And he hired a bunch of their team to actually build the short form video platform and content onto WeChat itself. So we'll be doing another webinar that showcases how that works, but you can actually use the video channel to promote short videos and also be able to use that for live streaming. Very simple, straightforward out of your phone, but it's kind of a new feature that relies on self-circulation to those that follow you or those within your community or network to see what you're posting. In the context of universities using WeChat, there's a couple of different formats that we've seen and we recommend. I guess the first main part is the ability to create a page and post articles like you can see here. What happens is you'll be able to have that landing page that posts some information about your institution. You'll give the chance for audiences to be able to learn more information by clicking on that bottom navigation menu, but also be able to read articles, whether it's updates of what's going on, where you can include photos, text, videos, GIFs, and then there are some interactive tools that allow parents, students, or teachers to be able to have a customer service. So message you one-on-one, message you in groups, or they can just kind of leave their contact information for you to follow up with afterwards. So what we recommend is kind of doing a little bit of everything where you should create parent groups, you should create counselor groups, or even student groups following up from any events that you host, or you'll be able to kind of write articles and then post videos and content so that it's kind of like having your own website within WeChat's ecosystem. And we believe it's a great way to showcase, update, and answer any questions students, parents, and counselors might have. Now, next up is Bilibili, which may be new to a lot of folks in the audience here, but funny enough, it was actually founded before WeChat. And what Bilibili is it started out as a platform focused on live streaming, gaming, and anime. And funny enough, during last year, it evolved its content to really become the most influential platform for Gen Z. At the beginning of January last year, it started out with, I believe, 80 million monthly active users to now being close to 200 million, where unlike the other platforms, the engagement level of Gen Z here is about 82% of that audience. And not only that, they spend 88 minutes, which is higher than any of the other platforms for them to consume information. And so the reason why this high usage came about was because the content evolved from those sort of more gaming and anime focus to being a little bit about everything, where it's education, lifestyle, what to do when traveling, what to do when, if you want to learn how to cook, anything in general. People will post their own content and be able to share videos and tag videos, which is why it's become their main source of information or entertainment. And so that's why we really believe that looking at tools like this will help you to be able to connect to that audience and be more proactive. So why Bilibili? First of all, it has a powerful search engine, which we'll show later a little bit of a walkthrough of the platform. It allows the user to be able to search what they want and get recommendations afterwards so that they'll be able to get more information on things that they might be interested in. The second part is we know that your info sessions can be long and very informational, but can be very long, which may not attract interest from audiences as much. At least, unlike with TikTok, at least Bilibili, you get that sweet spot of 5 to 15 minutes of video time, which is what attracts most students onto this platform, is the ability to post relatable content that's also a bit more informative and fun. We'll show you a couple of examples later for reference, but unlike, unlike other video channels, this longer form allows you to kind of be able to create more information that might be relevant to not just your audience, but also to be able to push it out to, say, parents and counselors as well. And like WeChat, all these Chinese social media platforms are very multi-dimensional. So it's not just the ability to post videos. You can actually run forums, create questionnaires, so that if someone's following your page or visiting you, you can ask them to fill out a quick survey on, where they're based, expected year of graduation, what topics they're interested in, or even to give you feedback on what kind of video would you like us to produce. These kinds of interaction will give you the chance to get data and honest feedback about how you can improve your presence online. And so the funny thing is, we did some research and realized that over 500 Chinese universities utilize Bilibili to do recruitment and outreach. And I'm not sure if anyone knows, but in China's case, if you take the Gaokao, your score really determines where you go. So the need to do this recruitment and outreach is really not necessary. But these Chinese universities use Bilibili to promote different aspects about their institution, whether it's just a general introduction, it's promoting special programs or academic programs that they have, student life, interviews with current students, alumni, or even just a general walk through the application or campus tour. But what we'll show you later is universities like Tsinghua, which is a brand name over here, but they actually do demo lectures with their current faculty or even guest speakers to give everyone a sense of what a class setting or experience might be like. And it's actually become quite popular for a lot of audiences here to be able to kind of absorb and learn new content. So what we're going to do now is show you an example of a few case studies of how different universities and us use Bilibili and other tools to be able to kind of build that presence, right? So what I'm going to do is show my window over here. And as you can see here, the emphasis of Bilibili, this is what it looks like. Kind of like an overwhelming view of YouTube, but that's kind of how a lot of these platforms are presented to audiences. It's a little bit overwhelming at first, but a lot of content easily for them to find somehow and access. And so the emphasis that Bilibili has is the search feature and the ability to type in and input what you want to find and get tags or recommended content based on that. And as you can see, this is a list of the universities that are using Bilibili to manage their account, with Tsinghua having 1.5 million followers. So this is Tsinghua's account. You can see they can create a page, manage videos that they have here. They can post the top videos, more generic information about what's going on. They'll be able to categorize videos based on, say, if it's a demo lecture, a campus tour, or a highlight on a specific program. Those are possible. This is NYU Shanghai. As you can see here, what really matters on a tool like Bilibili or even other video sharing tools is the cover photo or the thumbnail that they have to draw in and attract audiences. So they'll be able to kind of customize that, showcase this, and not only that, but be able to create forum pages. So it won't show up on here, but you can actually post updates kind of like on Twitter, whether it's just a photo, a video, or just an article, and be able to categorize your videos and then be able to label them and then do live stream activities as well. So all these features and functionalities are available for you to be able to create and manage. And so what we at Udentity did was we created a Bilibili channel with our team of content creators to actually do original and fun content that promotes studying overseas in a more positive light, but also kind of shares some unique information on things they may not have considered. So our team uses a lot of items that's relatable to them. So in this case, it's talking about college sports and American sports and how it's an important part in university life and experience. And as you can see here, a lot of activity and engagement is really down to people or Gen Z sharing it amongst their friends or others that share the same interests as them. So it's quite funny to read some of these comments would talk about, you know, oh, I studied in college and I didn't know American football was a sport before, but now it's kind of a part of my daily activities is reading, watching, and learning about the sport and all that. And so this kind of activity and engagement really shows to us that tools like Bilibili or WeChat, or if you want to use Weibo, for instance, as a way to update, there can be multiple touch points where you can direct them from looking at your page, whether it's like this on Weibo or TikTok, for instance, looking at these videos here, you can actually generate leads by going from looking at the different analytics, so a breakdown of where your audience is based, what kind of content attracts their interest, and be able to build your follow-up and community on there, to actually diverting them either to your next live event, your next virtual fair, open house, or even if you have followers and emails, you'll be able to kind of divert them to look at different parts of your website, connect with you on WeChat if you want to answer any questions or follow up with them, and display your contact information. So what we see these social media tools is a more proactive way to build that digital presence and divert them over to follow different aspects or engage with you afterwards. And we've actually worked with universities that have had success in using these tools, as opposed to just kind of doing slightly more passive approaches to online events and presence and all that. So just kind of to highlight, at Udentity, we try to offer a flexible scheme for you to meet your budgets or needs on different areas. We have WeChat subscription services that cover the setup, the managing of the accounts and all that, but we also help with content creation, provide reporting, analytics, and help build inquiries and leads for you through these channels. We also will be the first company in China to provide a subscription service account on Bilibili, whether it's utilizing, say, a potential Education USA or Education Network platform we're in the works with, or you can be able to create your own account that we can help go through that process with you to build not just the account and page and presence itself, but also if you need suggestions, we have account managers and content creators that can give you consultation on what would be good original content or how to localize your existing content that you may have. We're happy to answer any of those questions separately if you'd like to learn more, but the emphasis is really to showcase the landscape of social media tools. So if you'd like to schedule a follow-up with us, please visit our website. We'll have a link at the end for you. We're happy to answer any questions or give you a free consultation on what tools might be best for you. And if we don't offer that service, we're happy to give a referral or suggestion on other options to consider or other partners to consider using as well. So what we want to do now to keep track of time is give you the chance to be able to ask questions, or we answer the questions that you may have had beforehand. And so we've had a few questions that really related to how to set up an account, because a lot of folks they do not have a rep in China or are unable to, say, create or a phone number over here. We've heard of some trying to create a virtual phone number, but because of some of the strictness of having a Chinese phone number linked to an ID, those solutions we don't recommend. And so if you wanted to open an account, like say it's related to your university and you wanted to go through that service account route, you could actually use the university's sort of registration or license based in the country that you're from. The only issue with that is it takes a lot longer because of the new regulations that work with Tencent and WeChat. So if you wanted to be able to set up an account, we are happy to help make those recommendations or help create it for you, where we have a few vendors or account managers that can help use their ID, and say if you don't want to use the service anymore, we can transfer the account from that account manager or the vendor to you or an alum or current student rep, for instance. We don't always recommend using current students just because they come in and out, but if that's something that you are able to do, it makes things a little bit easier during the time that they work with you. The other question was, what works best when there's technology blackouts with so many students having to rely on VPN? This is a great question because a lot of folks are wondering what is accessible or not these days in China. It's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, are definitely not usable over here. Clubhouse recently got blocked as well. But in terms of a lot of tools that kind of replicate or localize that, that's what Chinese audiences use the most. And even the international students who are over here, they will either be able to use VPN or use their school's network, which has a VPN within the system. But what you'll find is a lot of international students in China will be very familiar with tools like Douyin, WeChat, and Bilibili as well. So one thing's for certain is the tools that we shared today and the ones that we'll share in our report, all these ones won't be blocked anytime soon, that's for sure. We'll be on for any questions for the next few minutes, but I'd like to thank everyone for their time this morning, this evening, whichever time zone you're in. We really appreciate the opportunity to just share the different platforms that exist out there, because we know that during this time it's very difficult for you to be able to connect with students the way that you'd like to, with in-person visits and all that. But we believe even after COVID, there are great solutions out there to build that digital presence, because we believe they could eventually help provide that support, whether it's reaching out to second and third tier cities, or helping you to plan afterwards where to travel to, and using that data to understand what is the interaction level and interest from students and parents in China, so that you can kind of plan ahead. That's what we're here to do and look for. So if there's any suggestions going forward, whether it's content that you want to touch on, or if there's suggestions that myself and my team can help you on, we're here to walk you through that process and make it less stressful and more seamless. So I have a question here that says, are you planning to host a session about social media trending in other Asian markets? We're actually happy to do that, because we have quite a lot of research and teams from all over the place to provide more content. Is there a specific region or market you're more curious about, Vicky? Yeah, please let me know if there's a particular region that you're focused or interested in or focused on, and we're happy to see what we can do for our next webinar, whether it's in general. India, Singapore, Vietnam, Thailand, etc. Okay, yeah. I do know from my friends in Thailand that Clubhouse is, well, across Southeast Asia, Clubhouse is definitely taking the landscape by storm. But in Thailand especially, it's become a daily activity for folks to join talks or conversations on there. India, I think, is will need a bit more work, because it has a very diverse pool of users. Be interested in attending future webinars on social media from other countries, Japan and South Korea as well. Okay, yeah, Japan and South Korea also have very much their own ecosystems of tools, kind of like in China with Kakao Talk, Line, and all that. We'll be happy to do another presentation on social media tools. It will be a little bit different from our comfort zone, just because our services focus a bit more on China. But if that helps to kind of paint a picture, we're happy to see what we can find and present on that. But we will have sessions specifically on a deep dive on WeChat. We'll do a deep dive on live streaming tools that exist. But please don't ever hesitate to use Udentity as a resource. Our platform is free to use, in fact. So if you have any colleagues that are focused on Asia, you can create a free account through our platform. The virtual fairs that we host are always in collaboration with a partner or a vendor that has access to a student, parent, or counselor network, like this upcoming one in April. But we try to create a diverse pool of content and tools to make it more engaging and interactive. So not just have our own virtual fairs, but use WeChat, Bilibili, Weibo for ourselves and with our partners to promote these upcoming engagements or events that you may be hosting. But again, let me just leave details on the screen over here. But again, please don't hesitate to follow up with us. We're happy to do any consultation or walkthrough, whether it's myself or my teammates, like Trevor over here on the call. We're happy to really make this experience easier for you because we know budgets are very tight. You may be a one-person office. We really want to help you during this time to be able to kind of manage your digital presence and also be able to engage with your audiences, and hopefully that this could be tools that you use afterwards when things open up. But again, I'm Jeremy, my colleague Trevor, we're here from Udentity. We really appreciate your time and hope we can help with your international outreach in the near future. So thank you everyone for joining us. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we hope to see you soon.